Good morning, story lovers, and welcome to another episode of Around the World in 40 Tales. My name is Doreen Vanderstoep, and I'm here with my fellow Storytelling Alberta member, Linda Shantz-Keresztes. Welcome, Linda.
I'm so glad to be here, Doreen. It's just lovely to be and honored to be here to celebrate the 40th anniversary of Storytelling Alberta.
Thank you, and we're thrilled to have you gift a story for us today. So today, Linda will be sharing a story from Scotland called The Selkie Bride. But what I'd like to do first is tell you a little bit more about Linda. Linda Shantz-Keresztes has been involved with storytellers in Calgary since the early 1970s, when she packed her Ontario bags and headed for the Wild West to experience further educational opportunities. During and following a long career as a teacher librarian, Linda has been fortunate to share her love of stories with people of all ages. Currently, she is involved in our Storytelling Alberta Story Share project for isolated seniors and has been finding this most rewarding. Now, before we continue, we'd also like to acknowledge that Storytelling Alberta operates on the traditional territories of the Indigenous signatories to Treaties 4, 6, 7, 8, and 10. We also walk in the footsteps of the people of the Métis settlements and the Métis Nation of Alberta. We make this declaration with a sincere effort at reconciliation and to show deep respect. Linda, please take it away.
Thank you, Doreen. I chose the story today, The Selkie Bride, because I happen to be born under the sign of Pisces, and so I love stories of the water creatures. And this is one of my favorite from Scotland. Long ago on the west coast of Scotland, there was a young fisherman that had been out to sea all day, but he had very little to show for his hard work. And as the sun went down and the evening went dark, he made his way to the shore. And he got out of his boat and started walking up the path to his cottage when he heard the most beautiful music and singing coming down from the water's edge, down further down the shore. And so he made his way to where the sound was coming from. And when he got there, he saw a most amazing sight, for there, under the moonlight, was a dozen Selkie creatures. And he knew what they were because, like all good Scottish people, they hadn't heard about the Selkie folks. And he knew the stories that sometimes they would come in out of the sea and they would get rid of their seal skins and they would take on human form and enjoy being on shore. Well, the fisherman stood there gazing for a long time, and all of a sudden one of the Selkies saw him. And with that, he warned the others, and they all threw on their seal skins and they dived into the safety of the deep blue sea. Oh my, thought the fisherman. No one will believe me that I have seen the Selkie people. So he just thought it must have been just a dream. As he turned to go up to this cottage, he noticed beside him on the rock was a black, shiny object. And he picked it up and it was a seal skin. Thought the fisherman. Now everyone will have to believe me that I did indeed see the Selkie folk. And besides, I bet I could get a lot of money for this skin. As he started walking up the path, he heard the pitter-patter of little feet behind him, and he could hear the weeping of someone as well. And he turned around, and there he saw the most beautiful woman that he had ever seen. And he fell instantly in love with her. And he said, "Beautiful woman, why are you crying so sadly?" And she said, "Oh, kind sir, you hold in your hands my seal skin, and without it, I cannot return back to the sea where my Selkie folk are waiting for me." "Oh," said the fisherman, he said, "I have fallen in love with you immediately. I do not want you to return back to the sea. I would like you to live on the land with me and be my bride." "Oh, no," said the Selkie woman, "I cannot stay on land, for I would never be happy. And besides, my folk, my family, they're waiting for me. No, I cannot stay here." Well, the fisherman was very stubborn and very persistent. and he insisted that she be his bride. And so the Selkie woman gave up on his arguments, and she followed him slowly up the path to his cottage. Days went by, and he did indeed keep his promise. He made sure that she was warm by the fire. He made sure that she had as much fish as she wanted to eat. But one thing he never did, he never put down the sealskin. Even when he went out, he took it with him. And so the days went by, and the woman kept thinking that sometime she would be able to get her sealskin and return back to the sea. But then months went by, and they continued on and seemed to be quite happy in the daily activities with each other. And so the fisherman started to get quite comfortable, and he decided that he would hide the sealskin in a crevice in the fireplace where he knew she would never be able to find it. A few months went by again, and indeed they did get married, and they seemed to be quite happy with each other. Even the seal woman found the man to be very, very kind, but she knew he also had a very stubborn streak in him. Years went by, and they were blessed with 7 beautiful children, lads and lassies, and some of them even had dark black hair. And the seal mother, she just loved them with all her heart. But there were times when they went down to the sea by the shore, and the children would be playing on the beach. And the Selkie would be sitting on the rocks, and she'd be looking out at the waves, and she'd get tears in her eyes, and the children would come running over to her and say, "Mother, why are you so sad?" And she would just simply say, "Oh, nothing to worry about, dearlings," she'd say. "I just had a bad dream, nothing to worry about." And she would kiss each of them on their foreheads. Well, one day, the fisherman took out the 3 oldest children out to go fishing with him for the day. The next 3 in line, they went into town to get some food. And left behind was the seal mother and her youngest child, a son. And as she was sitting by the window, she looked out at the waves and the sea. And then she noticed that there was a band of seals that were sitting and laying and barking and having fun on the rocks below. And all of a sudden, the tears streamed down her eyes, and she gave a great big sad sigh. Well, the young son heard that, and he came over and said, "Mother, mother, why are you so sad?" And this time, without thinking, she spilled out the story to her young son about that she had been born in the ocean, and that was where her true home was, but that his father had hidden her sealskin, and without it, she could not return to her home. Immediately, the son ran to the fireplace, and he took out the sealskin, and he came back, and he said, "Mother, is this what you want?" For he now knew what his mother was, for like every good Scottish child, he had heard about the Selkies. "Oh, yes, dearling," she said, and she gave him a big hug and a big kiss on his forehead. And she said, "I will always, always love you. But I'm wondering, how did you know where the sealskin was hidden?" "Oh," he said, "Mother, one day Father and I were alone in the cottage, and he went to the hiding place, and he took out the sealskin, and he stared at it for such a long time. And then he explained to me that it was very special. And now I understand why." And with that, she gave him one big hug, and she ran down with the sealskin down to the edge of the water. She put it over her body, and she dived into the safety of the cool, cool blue water and disappeared into the rolling waves. Later on, the fisherman came home with his 3 children, and they had the usual catch that they usually had of fish. And as they made their way up the path to the cottage, the youngest son came running out, and he told them the whole story about what had happened. Well, the fisherman, he was very, very sad and his heart was broken. And the children, they too never did get over the loss of their mother. But both the fisherman and his children knew that the Selkie woman was where that she needed to be, back in the water with her Selkie folk. There were some days you could find a seal out there in the water going back and forth, back and forth. And some days when the children, as they'd come down to the sea, she'd even come closer. And she watched them as they grew up. But more importantly, from the day that she left, whenever the fisherman and his family went out to get some fish, to catch fish, they would always come back with a net full of the biggest and the shiniest fish. And from that day on, they never, ever went hungry. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed that story.
Most certainly we did, Linda. Thank you for that heartfelt tale. Beautiful story from Scotland. Thank you so much. If anybody would like to reach out to Linda or anyone at Storytelling Alberta, you can reach us at info@storytellingalberta.com. And do check out our website where we have lots and lots of stories in celebration of our 40th anniversary, lots to choose from in the Around the World in 40 Tales section and also tribute tales. So thank you so much to all our listeners for tuning in today, and especially to you, Linda, for gifting your story. And we will be back again next Thursday with another tale to tell.